Herb Score did not arrive in baseball like a normal young pitcher. He arrived like a warning. Tall, overpowering, wild in the most terrifying way, and gifted with the kind of left arm that makes hitters feel small before the ball even leaves the hand. In the mid-1950s, he was not just another promising prospect. He looked like the future of pitching itself. He struck batters out in bunches, overwhelmed lineups with raw force, and made people believe they were watching the beginning of something historic. For a brief moment, Herb Score did not seem destined to become good. He seemed destined to become unforgettable. That is what makes his story hurt so much. Because when a player looks that gifted that early, people do not imagine a normal career. They imagine greatness piling on greatness. They imagine Cy Young seasons, pennants, records, and a legacy that stretches across generations. Herb Score looked like that kind of pitcher. He won Rookie of the Year, piled up strikeouts at a shocking rate, and gave Cleveland the feeling that they had found the next truly dominant arm in baseball. He was young, electric, and frightening, in the way only the very best pitchers can be. Even then, people were already talking about him, like he might become one of the sport's towering names. And then one pitch changed everything. It happened in 1957. Herb Score was on the mound doing what he always did, attacking hitters with the same intimidating presence that had made him such a sensation. Then a line drive came screaming back at him off the bat of Gil McDougald. There was no time to react, no time to turn away, no time for instinct to save him. The ball struck him directly in the face, and in an instant, one of baseball's brightest futures was thrown into darkness. It was the kind of moment that freezes an entire stadium, because everyone understands immediately that this is bigger than a bad inning or a painful injury. Something has changed, and it may never fully change back. There are injuries in baseball that hurt the body. Then there are injuries that attack confidence, rhythm, identity, and the invisible sense of safety every athlete needs in order to perform freely. Herb Score's injury did both. The physical damage was terrifying enough, but the deeper wound may have been what it did to the pitcher inside him. Because once a man has nearly lost everything on the mound itself can begin to look different. The distance changes. The danger feels closer. The freedom disappears. And for a pitcher who had built his greatness on power and fearless dominance, that kind of shift can be devastating. What makes the story especially cruel is that Herb Score did come back. He did not vanish that same day. He returned to pitch again. And that matters, because it shows toughness and determination. But return is not the same as restoration. The baseball world often treats comeback like a complete healing, as though getting back on the field means the old player has returned in full. That is rarely true, and in Score's case it was painfully untrue. The body came back. The uniform came back. The pitcher who had once looked like a generational force never fully did. That is what makes the phrase, "one pitch destroyed baseball's brightest arm," feel so haunting. It is not just about one painful moment. It is about everything that moment interrupted. Before that line drive, Herb Score looked like he was climbing toward immortality. After it, baseball was left trying to make sense of a future that suddenly felt broken. He had shown too much brilliance for anyone to dismiss him as a fluke. That is why the fall was so hard to watch. People were not mourning a fantasy. They were mourning something real that had already begun. And perhaps the saddest part is that even if you try to be fair, even if you acknowledge that baseball careers are complicated and not every decline has one single cause, the line drive remains the dividing line everyone sees. Before it, Herb Score was fear and promise. After it, he became one of the sport's most painful what-if stories. The injury did not simply take away time. It took away certainty. It made every inning after feel haunted by what might have been if that ball had gone anywhere else. For fans, that is one of the hardest things to accept. The greatest tragedies in baseball are not always scandals or dramatic collapses. Sometimes they are much simpler and much crueler. Sometimes greatness is there, fully visible, already beginning to bloom. And then one violent second tears the future apart. Herbscore's story feels like that kind of tragedy. Not slow disappointment, not gradual decline, sudden damage, sudden doubt, sudden loss. In the end, Herbscore's story is a reminder that baseball does not always destroy greatness slowly. Sometimes it does it in one horrifying flash. One pitch did not just injure a pitcher. It shattered the smooth path of a career that looked headed towards something immense. And that is why his story still hurts decades later. Not just because he was brilliant, but because he was brilliant enough for everyone to see how much the game had lost. In the end, Herbscore's story is a reminder that baseball does not always destroy greatness slowly. Sometimes it does it in one horrifying flash. One pitch did not just injure a pitcher. It shattered the smooth path of a career that looked headed towards something immense. And that is why his story still hurts decades later. Not just because he was brilliant, but because he was brilliant enough for everyone to see how much the game had lost.